vision of his stay at BC would be. And we had, I thought, a great conversation, but he was learning more and more English and wanted to make sure that I understood exactly what he had to say. So the next morning, I got this long letter. I'm reading to you just about 5 or 6 sentences of this long letter. But I think it gives you a sense of a really personable theologian who's able to relate very well to people with their experience because he shares his experience. And I read this yesterday when I was thinking of what to say, and I thought, oh, this is Carlos's voice. So I am a lay theologian, and now I'm working at Rio in the theology department with graduate studies. I'm at Rio for 10 years, but before I worked at PUC in Curitiba, which is a Marist University. Today, I live in Rio de Janeiro with my family, my wife, Larissa, my children, Julia and Daniel. As I said to you, Julia is 10 years old and Daniel is 9 years old. My wife works at Rio for 5 years. She is a social worker. I was president of SOTE, the Society for Theology and Religious Science, for 6 years. And it was a great experience for me because I could see other realities and offer a theology in contact with other groups, universities, and associations of Brazil and the world. I had the opportunity to know other people from other spaces and countries, including you in Sarajevo. I'm 45 years old, and I built some spaces of reflection in Brazil. I have important and relevant publications, but I feel that I can do more. I want to do more. Today, I'm working with 2 perspectives, an ecclesiological one in attention to the laity. But this is for my condition and vocation. It's a reflection of where I'm talking about. I speak from this floor like a lay theologian. I'm married. I'm a father of 2 children. Well, I think that this is relevant and can offer content in my reflection. Second, I have researched the theme of hope for a long time. My master's was on hope from Mohan's perspective, my doctorate in an approach between Mohan's theology and liberation theology. My thesis and book published, The Future of God in the Mission of Hope, an eschatological approach. Here you can see the building. My intention as a theologian is to leave a contribution to theology, reflecting on hope in a new view of eschatology. I'm already following Mohan for a long time. I like his proposals, but I understand that today theology is called and been called to new commitments, to new dialogues with society. One of the dialogues that he's had, Carlos, Cesar, this entire semester, has been with 3 people that he's met for 9 hours a week, so as to improve his English. 9 hours a week, he meticulously met with Maria, Hunter, and Izzy. These are all 3 students here who know everything he's about to say. And it's been a great resource, but you'll hear that this is going to be a presentation that no one. So
thank you, Jim Kina, for your words. Thank you for your friendship, your support. Thank you very much. Well, good evening. It's very good to be here with you. It's an important day in my life, in my present here, this year. I am a professor at Rio, and I worked there for 10 years. But before, I worked for 7 years in the nearest university in Curitiba, in Brazil. But I moved with my family to Rio because my advisor retired, so they invited me to have their experience there in Rio. And this experience is 10 years. And I live there with my family. My wife is a social worker and she works at the university too. And in this moment, I am on sabbatical year, and I'm here at Boston College at Jesuit Institute to do a new experience, to learn new theology, to open my vision of the world. And I'm happy. Today is an important day in my life, and I'm very happy because you're coming in my presentation. Well, the title of my lecture is Building Hopes from Rio to Boston. Life is experience in perspective. I like this cycle. Building hope, but I like it to say hope in plural, because in my perception, hope is always will be always thought in process, in constant process, in building, because it's a process, in a constitution, every day, every time in our lives. So I like of the title, it's from Rio to Boston, because my presence here, you should build a connection between Rio, United States, Rio, Boston, Tokyo, Rio, DC, and North Global and South Global. So I'm happy and I'd like to share with you some things of my experience, my life, my research, my university. So I hope to share with you some things of my perspective. Well, the first time I'd like to, okay, thank you to you. Is about Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. And I lived there for 10 years and I like very much. And when we are thinking about Rio, the first picture that comes in our mind is the grass, the mountains, the sea. It's a beautiful city. And it's true. I like more of the next two piece. This is beautiful. And you see, the blue of the sky and the blue of the sea is the same. And you can see the neighborhoods, the mountains, the forests behind. This is true. It's a beautiful city. We have the suburb. Flamengo is the best team of the world. And usually, when we are thinking about Rio, we're thinking about samba, carnival, beach, football, soccer, Rio, Christ, and but beach. Yes, but there is a problem there because this is true, this is real, but there is another side behind of this place with inequality, with violence. We have big problems in level social. We have violence, violence against children, violence against black person, drug trafficking. We have several social problems. I love my city, but it is real. It is real. This is true in our cities. But violence against black young people. For one side, we have a beautiful cities, but behind of the price, we have several social problems. And I think it's important today, we as lay theologians, people, students, to work about it because it's necessary to improve more our society in relation to this situation. Please, we have in Brazil the Amazon. Amazon is important for all of the world. This is beautiful. Amazon is a big biome in our planet, and Amazon is in 9 countries of South America, and Brazil has a big part. This is important, but we have another problem with this. Devastation, fire. In Brazil, we have the original people. It's important, but there is another side, the violence against people. This is a problem in Brazil, not only in Brazil, in every country in Latin America, in North America, but there is a problem. Well, but also we have some people that defends the Amazon, defends the people that live there. You know, Sister Dorothy Stein is an important person in Brazil. She's from the United States, but she lived in Brazil for many years, She died there. It's true, she was killed there for 10 years. And she is not lonely. This is a big problem in Brazil. But in Brazil, we have these beautiful places, beach and mountains, city, it's a large country. But the most important in Brazil are the people who live there. Right? So, but today we have big problems in our democracy in Brazil. Patience, Bolsonaro, pro God, pro life, pro gun. This is something similar in the United States. I know. Well, we have the pandemic. Today in Brazil, we have 700,000 people victims of the law. But we have another people that defend the law. Doctors, nurses, volunteers, and people that believe in life, in science. Like this picture, because this is real. And I'm sorry, I don't have a little photo, a little picture of this woman, because she lived in 18th century. She was a slave, but she learned to write and to read by herself. And she wrote the letters and sent these letters for other people in Brazil. Told for these people, the problem is the violence against slaves and black people in Brazil. And she has a pen. And today in Brazil, this woman is recognized as the first woman lawyer in Brazil. And her name is Esperança Garcia, Hope Garcia. It's important. Okay. We have many moments that today fights for democracy, for rights, human rights, and they say a lot. When you have your power, you have our resistance. So it's important, the new movement in Brazil. But today, we have a sad country. We have violence, but Brazil is a glad country. We are happy people. So it's important to have and to construct this nation again. This nation is preparing the election of Lula in Brazil. Today we are living a new moment in our democracy. I have hope about it. But it's important also to have mystical spirituality. And I chose this picture here because I was born for the church. I was born in youth ministry. And this picture is a celebration of the youth ministry in Brazil, where we talk about some situation of the church, but of the society too. This is important. Because today in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, we are building hope, building bridges of hope, building bonds. It is my first point I would like to talk to you in this moment. So the second point I would like to show to you my university, Rio, Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. Please. Was funded in 1914. We have 18 years. There is a Jesuit university in Brazil, and today, Rio is the most important private university in Brazil. We have the first place in the state. We have the city in the state. So it's the most important university place in Brazil, but the first place as private university in Brazil. And we are top 10 in Latin America. Today we have around 10,000 students in undergraduate studies, and around 3,000 students. And here we have in undergraduate study around 60% of the study with scholarship. Is important. I would like to show you the difference of my university because Carlos Mendoza was there, Serena too, and the university is inside the forest, so the campus is beautiful. I would like to show some pictures.
Yeah.
Understood because we said GSV. In this picture, it's here in Boston Town because there was a meeting with the president of GSV University. This is our president.
Isso é da capologia.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have now the theology department, please. Yes. Today we have around 3. Our person are Cesar and the same. And we have 2 areas, biblical and systematic pastoral. And we have the important journal in Brazil, its name is Apologetic Theology. In this moment, we have 60 professors full time. They work with I'm too. They work in graduate studies. And we have another 20 professors part time to courses in other courses, like here in the city, in the theology courses, in civil courses, not in university. So this is my university. I worked there for 10 years. I studied there for 7 years. And it's the most important theology department in Brazil in this moment. The next point I'd like to show to you, and it's about SOTER. SOTER is our Society of Theology and Religion Sciences. I was president of SOTER for 6 years. I finished my term in July. And we had a congress here in July. We have publications. We have around 700 members in Brazil. We have SOTER was in 1985. It's the first president of SOTER. He was an important Jesuit with important theology of liberation in Brazil. We had the annual congress in partnership with programs. So this partnership with other programs of the theology and religion science. Of institutions that offer courses of theology and religion. So that is not individual members, institutional members. Instead, you know, because the Catholic Association, Amenitia is very important in Latin America. CEILA, History of the Church. It works with International Association and World Forum Theology of Liberation. Today I am working there in three committees. A workforce of theology and liberation is inside and together with the World Social Forum. So each 2 years we have a meeting in some places around the world. It's an important work. And you have on our website, so there or compare in Portuguese, Spanish, and English. It's an important association. It's important to have some connections in another association of the United States. I have some pictures of our Congress, please. We have around 500 people in our Congress. We have encounter between all researchers and new research. Which is what include solar science. And the rules and please, in last year, 2020, 2021, 2022, we are in pandemic situation, so our conferences are online. And we have in 2021, 100 people in our congress in present in situation in this year, 2022. Well, this is Serena Setti this year. She was our speaker in 2021. Good, thank you. Next, please. Boston College and Soccer Olympics. In 2018 and 2029. So, thank you. And now I'm here in Boston College. Comment if you one extract of my research. It's something that I am working for last years, and this is a process that I want to work for next years in my life. So I'd like to read and to comment some points, and after this, have a conversation, some questions. So, hope and performativity. The ethical theological implications of eschatology today. The idea that I am pursuing and that I intend to build up with the research project is an updated study on eschatology and the possible ethical implications of thinking theologically and doing theology by examining the relationship between hope and performativity. Since the middle of the 20th century, eschatology has been reviewed from the perspective of hope, mainly guided by the influence of the theologian Jürgen Moltmann, who stated that this citation. Eschatology means the doctrine of the Christian hope, with the embraced God, the object hoping for, and also the hope that inspired by and this is to say, eschatology, understood as hope, is the content of our hope, and also is the action that is conditioned by and which gives reason for this hope. So the content corresponds to the action. The content always corresponds to the action. They cannot be separated from one another. Indeed, they require each other. Therefore, the intention of my research to inquire about the horizon of this hope, its theological conceptual basis, and its locus, as well as the realities where it's found and or the spaces in which it makes claims or presence presence, and attention. My intention is to examine the relationship that exists between hope and performativity, and the consequences of the performative character of this proposal by paying attention to the concrete actions in the society in which we live. That's to say, the ethical theological implication of this study. Basically, the major objective of my research is to gain a deeper understanding of this relationship, through which today we understand and are come to understand this hope, and what its practical consequences would be. That is a question that I have been working on for the past few years. In 2007, I defended my master's dissertation at Porto, working on the theme of hope in Jürgen Moltmann. In 2012, I defended my doctoral degree out at Porto, working on the theme of hope and mission, and identified similarities between Jürgen Moltmann's theology of hope and Latin American liberation theology. Since 2012, I have delved more deeply into Moltmann's thought, because I believe that his theology still has something profound to offer to the current theological debate, since it's a hope that is perceived as contextual, open, and ecumenical in nature, encountering space for more profound reflections on various ecclesial and pastoral dimensions. However, given the progress of my own research over the past few years, and along with the graduate theology courses that I have taught at Porto, I have discovered new authors, some of whom work specifically on the theme of eschatology and hope, and others who do not. In this way, I have adopted a strategy of seeing eschatology not only as content and or as a treatise on constructive theology, but as a key to theological interpretation. A key that demands and asks for an updated reflection on hope, and moreover, an updated reflection on how theology can read this notion of hope. This is a process that I have been constructing by way of reciprocal in my graduate courses, in publications, in recent orientations for new PhD students. I have been using hope as a key to theological perception, as an opening to new realities, and as an invitation to new interpretation. For example, how can we have the perception of the hope in classical authors as Luther, for example? I have a student that is studying Luther. How can we have to perceive of hope in the Episcopal Pope, in Inácio Lacuria, in Johnson Pino, in Leonardo Boff, in Bonis Bar, in Maria Clara, in Carlos Mendonça, and other authors here? How can you see a perception of the hope in Pope Francis, in his documents, in Laudato Si, in Fratelli Tutti, in Amoris Laetitia? How can you have a perception of this hope in new movement today? Women groups, children groups, youth groups, Black Lives Matter. How can we have a perception of this hope in the politics, with migration, with refugees? So this is a question, and more. What's the face of this hope? What's the face of this hope? And more, what's the implication of this hope in our lives, in our community, in our church, in our university schools? What's the ethical implication of this hope in our work, in our theology, in our pastoral, the church? So my question, in this point, I'd like to use the performative, because my perception of the hope needs to have action, movement. And today, I believe that hope is on the street. Hope is on the circular movement in our society. It's outside, not inside. So it's necessary. I'd like to do a perception. For example, how can we have the perception of the hope in authors that are not theology, philosopher or sociology or the other areas of science. So this is important in my research. In this way, I believe it's possible to bring a new perspective to the debate and offer something new to the construction of theology regarding the horizon of the topic. Here is a point where I intend to offer a current reflection, and is here where my idea of performative hope finds its space and place. Today, the world is seen as plural and challenging in many ways, on religious, social, and political levels. Major conflicts like the wars in Arabic countries, in Africa, the war between Russia and Ukraine, local and violent conflicts in our cities, violence in the countryside against original indigenous peoples, violence against women, children, and LGBT community, increasing social inequality and poverty, and more, the consequences of capitalism, racism, micropolitics, migration and refugees, the denial of life, and the environment and disaster, ecological problems, etc., 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 etc. So that these issues challenging the content of our hope, and these issues challenging the content of our faith. I'd like to work in our things. So we ask, to what and to whom are we destined? What is the meaning of our existence, and what and who are we called to be as humans, as humanity? What's the meaning of our life, and what responsibility do we take on carrying for our creation? And if is it true on the level of the faith that is the reason why we find our future and the meaning of our human existence, what then does the Easter experience of a rising crucified one who waits for us and who lets himself be known by faith? What does this have to tell us? What does this to reveal to us? What does the experience of the risen Christ open up for us in terms of the sense of hope? What meaning can we perceive from the marks of the crucified present in the face and bearing of the crucified? How can we see the crucified Christ in the many crucified people of today? And how can we call these people victims of the system and victims of the realities of death to new life in Christ, to an experience of life and restoration? So I believe that these questions are very important. They are urgent and necessary. The new questions that touch the human being, the humanism, posthumanism, and transhumanism, all of these questions challenges to a new ethical, philosophical, and theological depth. And I believe that the implications of our eschatology should enter with the COVID-19 pandemic made us perceive that we are also living in a pandemic world, and that this pandemic condition demands from us a concrete attitude with new forms of change and actions, with new understandings and perceptions of reality. We can find it in Fratelli Tutti, for example, with Pope Francis in the first chapter, when there it tells us that today we are living in a pandemic world. All of this requires a new way of seeing life and reality, and thus seeing, or better yet, perceiving hope in conditions that mankind will not easily see. Face it with the reality that changes, we are invited to live hope, not as an escape from the world, but as a very strength of the situation and the transformation of the present reality as restoration. So as I remember your book, Carlos Mendonça has a book about restoration, and there he used a sentence of Leonardo Boff that is restoration is insulation. Insulation and indignant hope, because it doesn't conform to reality and insists on transforming it in the power of insulation. Theologically speaking, we are invited to build the kingdom of God, starting from that which is anticipated by our experience of the rising one, and which makes us that live in hope, even in the midst of the cross, pain, death, and suffering. This hope becomes a strength. Therefore, it liberates and transforms, opens, and invites us to believe. In this moment, for example, I'm thinking in your book, we have in our proposal about restoration, victims, and survivors. In this moment, for example, I remember not you, Francisco, you are working in Colombia with the victims and survivors. In this moment, I'm thinking, I remember many mothers in Brazil, in Mexico, in many countries in Latin America that lost their sons and daughters for the good trafficking, for the violence. In this moment, I remember the many people that lost members of their families or the couples. In this moment, I remember John Sabino, because John Sabino says that it's important to see the truth of the reality that we are living. So this is important. In this moment, I remember Ignacio Lacuria. I like him a lot. In Ignacio Lacuria, in his last paper, published in Utopia and Prophecy, there he talks about salvation in history. And there he talks of the impulse of hope. And this impulse of hope creates a new human, a new person, a new man, a new woman. And this man, this new human demands a new earth, a new society, a new politics, a new economics, a new relationship between our countries, with our churches, with our people, our families. This is important. But in there, Lacuria says that this new earth demands a new heaven. But for him, this new heaven is not in somewhere in the sky or in another place, but the responsibility of our church in our society. And Lacuria says this today, it's important for our church have more Christological perspective. So this is important. So I remember this, though. This is the impulse. The feminist theology, for example. I wrote a mail for you today because I find this book. I don't know this author, Elaine Brown author. She's professor in Georgia, but the name of this book is Hope in the Holler. And here she does a theology of hope, and she used Moltmann and James Cone, but in another perspective, in a perspective of the black woman hope. It's interesting in the purpose. So I remember of this aspects too. So here I'd like to offer an excerpt from my doctoral thesis, which was published as a book in 2014. And I start of citation. Christian hope is not a passive hope, but an active one. It's a hope that acts in history, mobilizes the contest, in which it finds itself and seeks to build the kingdom of God, already present in its midst. It is strengthened by the promise, but it has less for fulfillment. It longs for what is not yet promised, but puts itself in service, in mission, already in this world. This action that comes from God on our behalf, that by grace anticipates for us his future, the future of his kingdom, provokes in us and as a community of faith a movement towards him. It provokes us to a new and transforming impulse. God comes to us with his future, and we move toward him as a response of faith, living in hope and acting in love. This future of God that comes in our favor, well welcome in faith, commits us to live in mission and to proclaim his hope. This quote brings inviting elements to the project I am pursuing in the area of eschatology and from the perspective of hope. The text insists on a hope that is active, not passive, but a hope in action. It speaks of a thing that is happening and transforming from within, from inside, and from below in his life. That is, it erupts in the struggle and resistance. It speaks of a God who comes in our favor, who anticipates us in grace, and will welcome him and walk towards him. This means a God who makes himself close to us and a participant in our history. This relationship is what provokes hope, which comes a gift from God, but which now becomes a strength because it's sensitive and active to everything that surrounds us. Everything is new, and the new transforms the hope. And as a response, we live in hope and act in love. We live in hope, we live in hope and act in love. Faith, hope, and love. Faith is hope, and hope is faith's hope. And hope relies and sells in love. Faith, hope, and love. This is the mission. This is the spectrum, therefore. This is the mission, the proclamation of this book, whose content can only be life and life to the fullest. In the intention also of relating hope to the responsibilities that arise from it, and thus to offer something for what I call the performative character of hope, that is, for a performance corresponding to what is lived and felt in hope. I affirm that hope, in its Christian understanding, arises from the experience of encounter with the risen one, from which we respond in faith, and seeks to realize the future of this hope. However, this risen one is not an abstracted nation from an unknown heaven, but someone who makes himself known in the competencies of our relationships, in the discomfort of our senses, in the affection of our touch, in the attention that we can devote to one another, making us close neighbors. The reason Christ goes ahead of us in history and meets us in our fragility, where he calls us and invites us to a new time, with the marks of the passion that he lived, and with the marks of the passion that we have lived. Everything is Paschal mystery, in a profound relationship of cross and resurrection that transforms the realities into life. This will be done in the dialogue and the confrontation with human causes, with the urgencies of our time and the confrontation of history. Together with faith, Hope will be a response to the call of a Christ who is coming. It will be that which is revealed and offered to us eschatologically, as an anticipation of a future, of a new fact with God and in God. That is, hope takes on a tone of commitment and of obedience to what is present, bring a guarantee in a new way of going forward, in a new impulse, therefore responsible and consequential. This space, everything we created with this hope, offers a new meaning to the realities of the present. In view of what can be expected from the encounter with the risen one, who touches us through the crucified one, and who advanced its future and anticipates for us the promise of his kingdom. I can say, nothing is strange to hope. Nothing is strange to hope. In conclusion, one final point that I would like to make regarding this question is that the Christian hope, the theological hope, for which we are searching with now ethical and practical implications, cannot be lived or understood in an isolated, individual way. This hope, the understand everyone has not it, its content and its way of hoping requires collectivity. For this reason, I like to that building hope is into a collective. Hope will be always collective. And so I'd like to say that it's not just what I am giving to hope for as a thing, nor just what I can hope for as a strength, but others and even that lead me to see with whom I can hope for, what is given to hope for, and to hope in soon. I repeat the sense because it is important to finish my presentation here. It's not just what I am given to hope for as a given, not just what I can hope for as a strength, but harder and even that lets me to see with whom I can hope for, what is given to hope for, and to hope in. I had the opportunity to explore this intention in an article published in 2018 when I spoke of the hope that makes itself responsible. Consequently, if the hope is responsible, it's also collective. What one hopes for everyone, and everyone, and for everyone. So it's building hope. So in this moment, I'd like to thank you, Jim Kina, for this opportunity, for your friendship, for this moment here. I want to thank you for coming in my presentation. Maria, Ante, Izzy, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you, people that work here, International Office, and the Global Connection. You are helping me a lot in this moment. And professor at STM, professor at the department, my neighbors that are here, Serena and Felix, they are my neighbors here in Boston. And I'd like to thank the professors, friends. I had some friends before I come into Boston. I arrived here and I could know new people and new experience, and I am grateful for this opportunity. But I'd like to thank my family. This is my wife, Larissa. This is my children, Julia and Henry. It's not easy for me to be here. I'm very happy. It's not easy for me, and it's not easy for them. We miss them a lot, and I love them a lot. But my family, my wife, we are together for 25 years. And it is important to me. So she supported me a lot, and I'd like to support her too. And when I arrived here in Boston in the first week of September, I brought with me many things of my life. I brought my experience, my name, my family. I brought my fears. I brought my dreams. I brought my work, my research. And when I will come back to Brazil in a few days, I will take with me many things of you. Your names, your history, your experience, your job, your work, your research. I learned a lot. And a little bit of you will be with me for the whole life. And I would like something of me could be here in Boston College with you too, because I'm living here for 4 months. This is it's not my house. And I'd like to finish my presentation singing for you a beautiful song from Brazil that says that here is a little bit of Brazil too, because here we have people that don't be afraid and nothing. So the song is this. Isso aqui, ó, é pouquinho de Brasil, iaiá, desse Brasil que canta e é feliz, feliz, feliz. É também pouco de uma raça que não tem medo de fumaça, não. E não se entrega, não. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions, comments? So,
We're riding. 5:30. So we thought we would do it early. So I don't know if I'm asking something inappropriate, not having heard most of your talk, but I'm wondering how hope, the spiritual dimension of hope, ties in with the recent election in Brazil.
oh, thank you very much. Madeleine, and she lived in Brazil for years, and she worked and she knew Sister Dorothy Stang. And she lived here with his husband, and we have some common friends in Brazil. Thank you for coming. And well, the situation of Brazil is very complicated, and today we have the hope, principle of hope in our democracy, but it's not easy to work there because we were never a violence country, a sad country. Today we have violence, we have problems with the families because policies and our situation. So I believe that Brazil it's necessary to have a process to build a new society, a new understanding of what we are as people and as nation, as country. I have hope in this situation because we were in difficult situation with Bolsonaro in these 4 years, not only to Brazil, but for all of the world. if the election of Lula is not only good for us in Brazil, but for you too, the United States, for all of the world. Because today the world don't want new dictatorships, and the world don't want fascists. But this is a reality, not only Brazil, but in several countries around the world, in Italy, and here some places, United States. So I believe that the hope in Brazil, in another countries, needs to have an encounter with the realities, concrete reality of our society. Because for this reason, I'd like to say hope is in plural, not hope only. Hope is in plural, because it's necessary to listen to other people. It's necessary to listen and to see another realities, to construction, network with other people around the world. But and one thing more, the hope was formed. The word, the hope is formed in the basis. And with the people that are working every day in our community. And I think that our schools, universities, and our churches have responsibly. Thank you for coming.
Good, Cesar, for your presentation. The inspiration you have us. My suggestion is maybe it's important also for you to take confrontation between thinking of hope inside of theology and thinking of hope in outside, mostly in philosophy thoughts, maybe in Brazil philosophy who was on this now. The comparison block and block Moltmann X is an important one, but we have other comparison, or actually, for example, Martha Nussbaum. She wrote the book The Monarchy of Fear. And she showed the hope as an answer to overcome the fear of our time. You see, hope is something shared in theology, but also in adulthood. Maybe it is convenient for you to search also in your context the bridge between philosophy and theology.
Well, thank you, Antonio. Thank you for your suggestion, for your comments. Yes, I like Moltmann, Barnett comments and Locke because this is the age of my theology. And I like to work with these authors in some perspectives, but also I'd like to find new perspectives in new authors inside of theology and outside of theology. In philosophy, from Brazil or from North Global, Africa. I like it very much about Chile because today to talk about violence is very important and it's philosophical. And in Brazil, the last year, Ivone Gepada wrote a book. Its name is Feminist Hope. Gepada as philosopher and theologian, and another person that wrote the book with her, it's an anthropologist, evolutionists. And in the book they work 12 verbs in a perspective of hope, but from the woman, from feminist perspective. in dialogue, in theology, and other sides. So in my work, in my research, I like, I have this intention to work some authors specifically from theology, eschatology, these things are very important. But to dialogue with the other realities too. But here in my presentation, I did an abstract, but I have some authors. In my experience here in the United States in Boston College, I have finding many authors focus in other papers and working both in civil perspective. But my attention is specifically where we can find hope to be. For example, I have students in PhD. He works about hope in youth. In the first intention, it's working hope in the youth ministry in the Catholic Church. But I told him that this is one of the words in English, sufficient. This is not enough. No, this is not enough. Today we have important cries in our society on the street with youth person, and it's necessary for the church needs to listen this cry, this hope, to sing in dialogue. What's the similarities between the hope on the street and the hope on the church, the hope on theology? What is the similarity? What is the similarity? What are the similarities between hope, theological hope, and the hope outside? For example, I like the theologian from Italy. He's a friend of Serena, Horacio Francesco Piazza. Today is a bishop, but he was professor. Professor, like that. And he has a book about hope, and where he works the difference in the human hope and the Christian hope. What is the possible hope? A possible hope in the impossible hope. In this specific point, the Christian hope, impossible hope, we need to have an encounter with the faith. And so, in this moment, you can do the dialogue of other realities. The value in Brazil, for example, he works the many hopes in our life, our steps for the big hope, for the Christian hope. So I like your comments. Thank you very much in your suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar, for your presentation. It was very inspiring. I found it very, very, very interesting. And also because you're working on hope, I'm working on love. So maybe there is someone here. That's great. And well, I just really want to know, because I was thinking all the time also in that book that I found very interesting in its moments of Terry Eagleton, Hope Without Optimism. And well, and I think that we can share a kind of approach, so you and me, that something that we can offer from theology, from philosophy to the world is a kind of new narrativities of hope, of love, that can be inspiring and theologically or philosophically, Christian philosophically based. So even kind of new breath to I mean a world which is really full of words without any content, I would say, and giving some grace and hope. But there are a lot of narrativities which are so optimistic, but they lack on hope, I would say. And in that book, so hope without optimism, so the focus is put on neoliberal, optimistic and theological, but also optimistic accounts. But I mean, maybe they are not preaching about hope, so to say. They are not sort of telling us nothing about hope. And Ernst Bloch or the Christian scatology can offer us these languages, these narratives. So what I want to ask you is if it is any difference, so maybe from spirituality or theology, that you can offer us between the hope that you are trying to define and a mere optimism.
Thank you, Sergio, for your question. Very important. And sometimes, or many times, we can see hope only with the feeling. This is important. It's just one part of the hope. It's a feeling because you need to feel the world, the relation, people, the condition of the world. But it's not only a feeling. For this reason, the Christian hope is a gift from God for us. And when we receive and we have the concept of this hope, we can have action towards this project. So the feeling is important, but it's not enough. It's necessary to have another situation, not only for Christian hope, for us hope in movement, social movement, political movement. It's not a feeling. This is a movement that wants change the world, change the situation of the reality. When I showed this picture of that woman, where you have your power, we have our resistance. This is important because where is resistance? Where there is resistance, there is hope. Because, but it's necessary to feel this situation, but you need walking toward this situation. So today, sometimes in some religious movements, we talk a lot of hope in the feeling, optimism. It's dangerous. Thank you, Sergio, for your question.
On that note of the makers, we want to thank you for your performance. But most of